there, all my sexy Dexter fans. So just FYI, I'm going to probably be filming my future Dexter vlogs on this camera, my little Sony Cybershot instead of my HD webcam, just because I want to be able to get the videos up for my reviews as soon as possible without the extra hours involved in just processing HD stuff. And also, tonight was my very first night watching Dexter in HD, which was really exciting because my cable company gave me 6 months free showtime. So, it was beautiful. It was so beautiful, and wow, Sunshine and Frosty Swirl did not disappoint. Just gonna warn you, there are going to be lots of spoilers in this, and I might not go through the episode in order. I just watched it, and so like the very last minute of the episode is still ringing in my mind, and so I'm gonna try and just reel everything back in. But I just apologize if I'm kind of like playing hopscotch all over the freaking episode because there's just a lot of ground to cover. So I'm gonna do my best to do this some justice. So here we go. Dexter Season 7, Episode 2, Sunshine and Frosty Swirl. Now first off, my thoughts as to the meaning of the title. Well, obviously, while Wayne Randall, who's been convicted of, well, he went on a killing spree, and he tells the cops that he wants to clear his conscience by going and having them find other bodies that he'd killed and buried. And so Dexter actually makes a connection with the guy, and I really liked Wayne. Like, I was just kind of like, yeah, he's kind of cool. I'm sort of digging him. He just sort of had this air of like self-understanding about him, and it was kind of rad. And I was like, all right, I can jive with this guy. And he was just telling Dexter about how, you know, everything changes, but you know, they still have the Frosty Swirl little ice cream shop across the street from where they're trying to dig up the bodies. And you know, Dexter is kind of fascinated by how this guy seems to have come to term with his life of imprisonment, you know. He's rocking the orange. He's just like, yep, it's good stuff. And he's just like, you know, there's always Frosty Swirl. It's great. And that actually ends up coming back up in the very end, as well, if you've seen it, you will know, in a very interesting way. And I think that what it represents is, it's kind of a weird sort of hope. And it gives Dexter, seeing this guy seemingly satisfied, and you know, he's talking about how the anger fell off of him like a bad scab, and Dexter's trying to figure out if that can happen to him, especially after how everything has changed with him and Debra. For one thing, the very first opening scene, the aftermath of the, you know, pretty much the totally, utterly destroyed apartment, the aftermath of all of Debra's discoveries. She's booking it out of the apartment, just totally broken, and then when they returned to the apartment, I was really fascinated and concerned by just how bitter Debra was. It was just very derisive and acidic, and they were just kind of like being really snarky at each other and just kind of sniping back and forth, and I was just like, oh my gosh, is this gonna set like if this is setting the precedent for how everything is gonna go, this is slightly concerning. You know, when she was just like talking about the blood side, and she was like, you're talking like you're the victim, Dex, but they're the victims, and you could just see Dexter's just kind of, his blood is boiling, and I was like, ooh, you are stepping into some not so nice territory there. But yeah, so I was expecting, you know, more of an emotional output from Debra, like what we saw in Season 4 when she was mourning Lundy's death. I was expecting that maybe she would blame it on herself, and that Dexter would have to step in and comfort her as he did, like in that scenario. But it was very, very different. And then to see how their dynamics changed when Debra was like, okay, we're gonna get this under control, you're coming to live with me. You know, she pulls Dexter aside at work after not letting him go on the Wayne Randall case initially. And I was really compelled by her talk of how I believe that there's still good in you, that that we can fix this. And it kind of reminded me rather uncannily of Lila in season 2 when she was trying to help Dexter get over the dark passenger that she didn't know about. Of course, well, Lila and Deb are very different stories. But yeah, so there's definitely very tangible tension when Dexter has to move in with her. And we also find out that Deb is not such a good cook. So there's all those dynamics, and Dexter's, you know, he's starting to feel the pressure, but then, you know, they're on totally opposite sides of the spectrum, and they kind of start coming a little bit closer together as the episode progresses, like when Dexter gets really provoked by Lewis, you know, especially with what all he discovers in his freaking apartment. Like, Lewis is nasty. He's so nasty. Like, what? You know, with the freaking hookers, and it's like real classy, keeping it real classy, aren't you, bud? Dexter should just kill him for bad taste, but yeah, the fact that he legitimately called Debra when he was about to do the deed, you know, I was really surprised with the way that they were interacting. I was really afraid that afterwards, you know, Dexter was just gonna pull off another mask and just go for it. But he actually, you know, just kind of ends up teaching Lewis a lesson, just dumping the guy unconscious in the middle of the park, and that was a pretty funny moment, and very interesting that, and it just really shows Dexter's love for her, in that it seems like he truly is legitimately trying, and he's trying to be honest and transparent with her, which is absolutely enormous, just totally enormous. Even though Lewis is a douche, I really am glad that they didn't kill him off in this episode. I was really afraid, you know, the way that things are progressing, it was gonna happen. Dexter needed to alleviate stress, but they're keeping him around, and he's still, you know, he's still kind of playing a little bit of alpha male in Dexter's territory, which is like, what? And why are you cheating on Amy? Like, why are you being a dick? Just quit thine dicking around. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like they could really go some interesting ways with Lewis, and things that are unfolding with the Ukrainian mob, also very interesting. I don't know what I think about Quinn's connection with the prostitute Nadia, is that her name? I believe. It's like, okay, there goes Quinn hanging with his kind of woman. We'll see where things go with that. But I really thought it was interesting how we got to be introduced with Isaac's character. And ooh, he's so cold and calculating. I really dig it. It's going to be pretty crazy to see his path intersect with Dexter's, and I believe that in the next episode, Isaac actually does a name drop with Dexter. Like, somehow the cogs mesh together, so I'm really excited to see how that works out. You know, like, he confronts the hooker whose boyfriend stopped working in the club. He confronts him in his garage, and he's just like, you know, I know what it's like to lose someone you love. And the guy, he's like in tears, and he's just like, you know, it's this like little soap opera thing going on, and then he just jabs him in the eyeball with a freaking screwdriver, like going all Oedipus on him. And I was like, okay, you know, so this is the kind of stuff we can expect from this guy. He's gonna lure you in and just kind of play with you, and then boom, you're done. So Dexter is gonna be in for a little bit of fun, being that he has eliminated a certain Victor who did not come out victorious in terms of being alive. Anyway, so, oh man, what else am I missing? Also, I thought it was really interesting how Dexter describes his dark passenger to Debra, and how he talks about the trickle and how it flows into a flood that fills him up, and he has to open the floodgates. And I think that it was really symbolized in how when he knocked out Lewis, when he injected him with the tranquilizer, and he looked at that tiny little dot in the blood, and just how the camera zoomed in on it. I think it was, you know, that was some cool little connection. Like, it kind of symbolizes the flood that he feels, and then he calls Deb, which is pretty crazy. And there was also, again, here I am jumping around, but yes, there was a mention of Hannah at the very end, and so I think we'll we can expect to see her in the next episode, I believe. And I'm very excited to see how that works out. Also, funny moment with Masuka. I'm glad that they're slowly starting to pull in a little bit more of the classic Masuka, you know. When Dexter was looking for the ice truck killer hand since it had arrived at his apartment, you know, and then Masuka like comes up and he hugs him when Dexter's like, yeah, we're cool, I'm not gonna tell anybody what happened. He's just like, I was ready to blow you. I was pretty pleased with that. It's just like, that's cute. That is real cute. Something else that was really interesting about this episode was the use of music. We did have a little bit of some of the classic themes that have been interwoven into, you know, the entire season, but there's a lot of orchestral music. Some of that revolved around Isaac's character and, you know, other parts of that orchestral theme played into, you know, different scenes where emotions are kind of being dived into, and I think it just shows an interesting change of pace and style on the show, because there was a little bit of that upbeat kind of, you know, like Latin jive going on, but I think that the mix of the orchestral music was kind of cool and impactful. And okay, so the very ending, I have to talk about this, because am I the only one who didn't see that coming? I totally didn't see that coming. I was really hoping that Dexter was going to establish some kind of a relationship with this guy and just kind of work things out, you know, and things actually ended on a strangely positive note with Dexter and Debra, and I think it's hilarious how Wayne's just like, oh yeah, you guys are getting it now, and like, you know, treating them like they're together. I thought that was kind of funny, but, and then he starts talking about Hannah, and how, you know, she was the Robin to his Batman, and I'm just like, does that make Debra the Robin to Dexter's Batman? Like, I was really hoping that there would be some more, like, kind of parallels developed with the whole, like, Wayne and Hannah McKay thing and Dexter and Deb. I thought that was kind of cool. And then all of a sudden, you know, Wayne's talking about how his time's out, you know, like he's had his Frosty Swirl, all is good, and then he just flippin' runs out into the road and boom, like, collides, ow, I just like broke my knuckle, like collides into the truck. My jaw literally dropped. I was just like, no, like I was waiting for him to just say so much more. I was just really fascinated with him. And so it was interesting how, you know, like Sunshine and Frosty Swirl, like everything's great. Basically Wayne Randall got his Sunshine and he got his Frosty Swirl and he was done. You know, he truly couldn't take prison. He knew that he had been backed into a corner, and so he just ended it. He wanted to find a way to get out and not to just die in a cell. And so it really abruptly kind of shakes up that theme of hope that's sort of growing throughout the episode. So what did you guys think of that? I know that there's a lot I missed. You know, there's also some more stuff going into the Bay Harbor Butcher case, LaGuerta's kind of building her own private case. And there's just a lot happening. So let me know what you guys think. Share with me your thoughts. Thank you so much for all the views and support on my last video. You guys are awesome. It has almost 1,000 views as of the filming of this particular review. So thank you guys so much, so much. You all are fantastic and sexy, and I don't know what I'd do without you. So thanks so much for watching this, and feel free to comment below. We can talk about all kinds of stuff. But yeah, basically there's the tension, the way that everything was worked out in this episode was so neat. And I think that we're going to see things get much more angry and fierce in upcoming episodes, but it's just truly incredible development, and I'm really excited to see where everything goes and how Harry continues to speak to Dexter, and okay, also friggin' Harrison talks. I was just like, I died a little bit. I was just, oh man, that little kid, he is freaking cute as hell. Anyways, so thanks for watching. You guys are marvelous, and stay tuned for next week. We are going to buck the system. Here we go, ladies and gents.